Sometimes life goes so fast you just need to step back and take a time out. If you're really lucky, you can spend that time picking the brain of Blue Jackets head coach John Tortorella. We could only find one guy brave enough to do it. Here's Bob McElligott and Timeout with Torts.
Well, Torts, this is a great day to do this. Today is the biggest travel day of the year, and I don't think there's anybody that people would rather listen to when they're traveling in the car than you, so that works out perfectly.
Wonderful.
Do you listen to stuff when you travel, or is that your time to yourself?
NPR.
Yeah?
NPR, every day.
No wonder you're so relaxed when you get here every day.
Yeah, no, I don't listen to any sports shows, or I don't listen to you, or it's NPR. That's where I get my day figured out in my car. It's my ride's a 40-minute ride in every morning, and I get my day figured out with that.
It's funny how much you can get done in the car, right? That's where I've done, like if I've planned radio shows or whatever, I do the best work in the car alone.
Yeah, when I first came here, they put me up at the Flats over here, Flats in the Vine. I am used to coaching in New York. All the places I've coached, it's usually a 35, 40-minute ride. I've got so many animals, I can't live in the city. So we're kind of always been out in the country wherever we've coached. And that is, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind the traffic because you just kind of get things planned. Because once I step foot in this building, everybody's coming 10 different ways from Sunday. Questions, wanting something or this or that.
Well, there's no traffic like New York, Vancouver, or even Tampa here in Columbus.
No one should complain about traffic here. There's no traffic here.
Hey, with it being Thanksgiving, did you ever have any, did your family when you were growing up have any Thanksgiving traditions?
God, no. I know the biggest tradition in our house, an old-fashioned Italian family, we sat down at the table, and when my dad sat down, he was always the last one to sit down. That's when we ate. That's when dinner started or Thanksgiving started. My mother, through Thanksgiving and all dinners that she cooked for us through our childhood, she never sat down. She constantly was working, and it was a little bit old school with my dad. Yeah.
What's a big Italian Thanksgiving consist of?
Lasagna. Yeah, it's not turkey. I mean, there's some turkey. There's a turkey on the side, but you have lasagna, you have meatballs. It's the whole 9 yards as far as the Italian stuff. And there's some turkey, but no, we're not budging from that.
What about when you started your own family? Of course, being in hockey, here we are. We're working on either side of the Thanksgiving holiday, so Thanksgiving kind of gets pushed off a bit.
Yeah, for us, and we've explained to our kids, I can't remember the Thanksgivings, but we've always explained that it's really kind of a work day for us. We're usually, not so much playing, but we have practice tomorrow, and for a sports team, usually in the holidays, it's work days for us because we're the entertainment, and so we've never really had any really big Thanksgivings as far as since I've been coaching.
Yeah, even like in the minors, everybody wants to play the day before Thanksgiving, and everybody wants to play on Black Friday the day after.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. What's really happened a lot in our Thanksgivings throughout my career is you're having it with the team. A lot of times you're on the road, and you end up doing it with the team. It's some of the good and bad that comes with all the traveling that you do and during the holidays is you miss some of that family stuff. But we're very fortunate in some other areas.
Yeah, that's why I was glad a couple of years ago when they designated the 3 days at Christmas as days off, because I know there were some rumblings about the NBA owns Christmas and should the NHL play on Christmas, and I was so glad when they said, okay, 24, 25, 26, nothing, and you at least get to have those 3 days.
Yeah, and it gives people an opportunity to get somewhere, and you know how I feel about that. The family stuff is the most important stuff. I think if your family is healthy and everybody's happy, this is the next most important stuff. So it's nice to get a few days there during Christmas.
All right, let's talk about your team. You started this week with a win against the Ottawa Senators, a 1-0 win, a grind it out, find a way, as you like to say, type of a win. Oliver Bjorkstrand tips a puck in the first minute of the third period on a shot by Zach Werenski. That's the only goal of the game. For Bjorkstrand, it's his sixth goal of the year. We've talked about the fact that he has done a pretty good job picking up where he finished off last year. What have you noticed as the biggest changes that he's made in his game that's giving him some early success?
Well, the biggest change for me, it's two things. The first thing is that he has found that battling for pucks, doing the job on the wall, being in those areas to fight for pucks has helped him have the puck more. He did that occasionally the past couple of years, and so I go to the most important point. He's consistent at doing it now. As I said after the game the other night, it's kind of like who he is. We have 9 scoring chances. Olive is involved in 5 of them because he does the work away from the puck. He does the little things too. He's noted for his shot, but he's doing the other things, and I think that's he's becoming a much more consistent player.
And he's a guy that you've tried to get a lot out of in the last couple of years. And I wonder how you approach that, because as a guy that likes to stimulate the mind, this guy seems like he is a flatline kind of a guy. It's hard to, from the outside anyway, it seems like it's hard to get him agitated or stimulated. How have you approached him?
Yeah, I've tried to agitate him. I've tried to just nudge him and trying to get a reaction out of him. It's a great question, Bobby, because I've gone through a process in how to coach him. I leaned on him hard early on here, and I just didn't think that was working. And in fact, I thought at times that I may have set him back a little bit. And so he's a very mature kid. And so it's more explaining now and not having the emotion show. He's got a quiet intensity about him. Don't think he isn't an intense guy because he's just a quiet guy out front. But he has a great intensity inside him, and I've kind of found that out as we've gone through the process, him and I. So, he a student of the game. I know his dad. I played with his dad at the University of Maine. I remember his dad told me, he says, you can kick him here, you can move him along when you need to, but I've gone a different way now, and I have a lot of respect for him and how he's gone through the process, and was scratched at certain times and wasn't getting much ice time, bounced him off of lines. He was always the first one to be moved off a top line. He's handled himself very well.
Would you put Zach Werenski on that same list as far as guys that you've learned how to coach, learned how to talk to?
Yeah. Z was with Z for me was his injury a couple of years ago. And you put his injury, which was a shoulder injury, and that's a really hard injury for a hockey player, especially a defenseman who's going back and getting pounded and doing certain things under the hash mark that some players don't have to do during the game. I couple with his injury that he was still playing and just his personality and how he looks sometimes on the ice. It's another guy, and you and I have talked about this. It's another guy, I think a lot of people get on him. They think he's a lazy player because just the way he looks on the ice. He's just so efficient as a skater, and that's just the way he plays. It's very misleading on how hard he plays. It was misleading to me, and I wasn't sure how hard I could go at him due to his injury too. So it's another guy that very quiet. If you explain things to him, it was a lot better that way. Explain to him in a calm way. As far as simply, you got to play better defensively. That was my biggest thing. Is I wanted him to meet me halfway, playing harder on pucks, playing harder in the corners defensively, because he has the green light offensively, and I think it's really come around nicely here, and he's becoming more of an all-around player.
Really interesting with him. I read an article where he talked about his mindset, and it has to do with the way he retrieves pucks and the fact that he will literally suck that forward all the way in so that he can spin off the hit, which is kind of the anti what it used to be, right? You want to get rid of that puck. So, but he had a good point, because why let the guy hit me from 5 feet out when he can hit me from 6 inches?
Well, and like a dummy like me, I'm a Neanderthal. I just want you to skate as fast as you can back there. I want to see effort. This is how coaches think. And he's probably one of the best guys, one of the top guys in our league, escaping from a guy that's right on him. So he has a plan. He really does. And coaches, we don't see the game. We don't think the game like they do. We may think we're smart and at certain times, but it's one thing as I've gotten older. Because early on, I knew what you were supposed to do. Don't tell me what you think you're thinking. I don't want to hear it. But you've got to show them the respect and have a two-way communication. and listen to them. I've learned so much from players when you really stop as a coach with your ego and all, stop and listen to them. And it's not always you spouting off to them.
You know, and this is a week where this has been talked about a lot, coaches and the old school and maybe turning into the new school. At what point, how many years ago did you finally look in the mirror and say, listen, I can't do it like this. I've got to start listening more?
Yeah, well, it wasn't probably 6 or 7 years ago, not much time before I came here. I can't pinpoint the exact time, but I think when you're a veteran coach in the league, and I've coached in the league a long time, very fortunate to have the opportunity, that you kind of get a reputation. And I did have a reputation. I mean, I did some stupid things. I was too hard and too emotional on a number of players through my career, and I think I hurt them. So you learn through that, and you kind of come with a reputation, and you want to change with the players. I think it's the most important thing with a head coach. If he stays in the game a long time in any sport, you have to understand what the athletes are. I mean, today's athlete is totally different than what the athlete was 10 or 15 years ago. Some of it's really good. Some of it, quite honestly, I think it's wrong. But you still have to adapt to try to get these guys to play under a team concept and try to win hockey games. So that's a constant thought process for a coach on what he has for a team, talent-wise and all that, and what the personalities are, because you got to coach them. You can't put the square peg into a round hole because it's your way or the highway. That's by the boards.
Talking with head coach John Tortorella, and your new assistant coach Paul McLean said some very similar things just the other day in Winnipeg, talking about today's players. Let's talk about Paul McLean. You had early in the year vehemently defended Brad Larson and his power play.
Still do.
So, right, I understand you do. Paul McLean has come in here, hasn't even really got to tinker with it a heck of a lot because you haven't even had a practice, for crying out loud, but yet your power play is it's improved. So it's easy from the outside to look at that. But it's all the same system. The players have said it's a little bit different terminology maybe that Paul has said. Is that true?
And that's what Lars came to me and said, Nate, I think they need a different voice. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the amount of work that Lars has put into this. And I respect how we handle it. But and all of us, this power play was going pretty well before for a couple of weeks prior to Mac coming here. I know the people that want to lean on the coach and criticize the coach is going to say, yeah, McLean's here, they're 5 for whatever or whatever it is now. They should have done this a while back, or however it's worded. I'm not sure how it's worded out there. But it's untrue. I mean, Lars and him have been kind of doing it together because Lars has been talking to him about some of the personnel and where he's put them. So it's kind of a transition period with both of them doing it right now. But I also want to make sure that Mac is a very smart coach, a quality forward, offensive forward in this league back in the day. But he has dealt with a lot of people throughout his career, as we just talked about, how you have to change as a coach. So I think he's going to be a tremendous asset to us here. And it gives me a chance where I'm using Lars now, where he loses a little bit of that responsibility. We have so many young kids. He's focused in on every day showing tape to Bemstrom, Milano, Robbie, and down the line you Tex. And he's kind of sinking his teeth into there because he's such a good teacher. So I think it's strengthened our coaching staff.
Where did or how did Paul McLean get on your list? At what point did you say, I think we need somebody else, and I think this would be the perfect guy?
Yeah, we went through Yarmo and I. We talked about it. I asked Lars to come up with some names. I talked to some head coaches in the league about people. A lot of people are working right now, and but then Yarmo and I were talking, and I think it was Yarmo who mentioned Paul McLean to me. I'm not sure how the order was, and I said, you know what? And I've known Mac, and he's such a good man. He brings a relaxing personality to the room too. I said, you know what? I'm calling him. And he was over in Sweden when Buffalo and Tampa were playing in the 2-game swing there. And we talked right away. He was definitely interested, and we kept talking along the way. And then we finally got together. Yarmo spoke with him. They got a deal done, and I'm thrilled that he's here. And I'm using him 5-on-5 too. I mean, he was up on the board the other night. We're trying to get through the neutral zone against Ottawa, which was very tough. He had an idea. We put him right up on the board in between periods, went over some things, and I thought it made a difference for us. So you kidding me? That experience and the way he handles people, he's a huge asset for us.
Another thing about him coming here for me shows, especially in the past couple of months, it's been talked about with Columbus about, people leaving and not coming. But, I mean, here's a guy that not only was a great NHL player, but he was a longtime assistant with the Red Wings, with the Ducks. He was the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. I mean, he's known and respected throughout the league. And he comes here to join a guy like you who has a great track record in this league. So, again, it's a good quality hockey mind coming to Columbus.
Absolutely. And just talking to him already and just in the short week and a half that he's been here, he has some great ideas. And he is we're going to put him up there in front of the players. He's going to do a lot of different things, and not just the special teams, but within the game and within game situation adjustments. We want to get his thoughts. We go in between periods. We all talk about what went right, what went wrong, how can we change it to make that wrong a right. He's going to be involved in that conversation. And, yeah, for the area, for the organization, and most importantly, those players, he's a really good coach.
How much does that help you to have a guy that was an NHL head coach and has that kind of experience, just to, not to take away from anybody else that's here, because they've helped you get to the playoffs 3 years in a row, but to have that experience to go and just pick his brain?
Yeah, pick his brain. And listen, Bobby, I'm very honest about how players see things sometimes, and where sometimes it does not have to be my voice all the time. And to get a different voice and a different way that it's being said. And we may be saying the same thing. And I'll tell you right now, it happens a lot in hockey. You're saying the same thing, but you got to find a different way to say it, just to get something to click on into the mind of the player. So to have him, and I've kind of backed off here a little bit with a lot of the X's and O's, and Lars and Shazi, and now I have Mac here. It's just a great situation for me, because I'm kind of handling the mental part of it, sometimes the discipline part of it with these players if they get out of whack a little bit. And to have another voice here, it's a terrific timing for us.
You sound like the Bill Belichick of hockey all of a sudden here.
Well, I think sometimes as a head coach, you do not always have to be front and center. And this is my 5th year here now, and I've changed my language a little bit, but I'm not going to change really who I am. And I don't want to wear down people either, as far as them hearing the same things. I've listened to some of the language Lars uses and Shazi uses, and now Mac comes in here. I said, oh, my God, like this net front D stuff, I thought it was the man in front of the net or the bumper in the power play. No, it's the man in the middle on the power play. All this different language, but it may help the players. So I just kind of back off and go to my office after and write down a few notes. Okay, this is supposed to be this now. So it's nuts.
But when I say that about the Belichick of hockey, I've long thought the NFL, because they have such big rosters, there's no way you can deal with 53 guys. There's zero way. So to me, the best NHL or the best NFL head coaches have always been the ones with the best assistant coaches.
There's no question. And I'll be honest with you, Bobby. My early days, the ego's there, and you're a fairly new head coach, whatever it is, you're in everything, because you want to make the difference. You want to be front and center, this and that. I feel very comfortable in my skin as overseeing things here, because I trust my assistant coaches. I don't even want to call them assistant coaches. They're part of the coaching staff. I think we're a staff, and I trust them. So I have, especially the past couple of years, have kind of been off in the background at certain times and allowed them to go with it, especially some of the video. There wasn't a day 10 years ago or even 5 years ago when I first started here, I'm doing the video. It's my voice. I'm going to tell them what this is. And I've backed off that, and I just kind of oversee, and I step in when I think I need to step in, especially in certain discipline parts of it, and maybe a little bit of an attitude adjustment, or a lot of difference comes into play every day when you're dealing with all these players with egos, which they should have. I've got to watch that. So I'm so fortunate to have these men with me.
All right, Torts, I got two quick things. I know it's a game day. You have other responsibilities. Number one, even through this adjustment to your coaching staff, can you find a way to get Josh Anderson going again?
Yeah, we're trying. And I really don't. I think Andy's really trying to concentrate on. My biggest message to him a couple weeks ago was, don't try to be a skilled guy. You're a power forward that has a lot of skill. And I don't think he can get that in the wrong order. He just needs to keep on coming across and banging and forechecking. He's been snake bitten. I mean, he was involved in 6 scoring chances out in Winnipeg, comes up empty. It kind of snowballed on him here. And so we're trying to help him. I think Mac, as a goal scorer in this league, although it was way back in the day, don't tell me.
You used to have to work for the goals, right?
Yes, yeah. Mac did a lot of work in front of the net to score goals. That's where Andy needs to be too. And so I think Mac's going to help him there also.
Yeah, and he won't get whacked nearly as much with a stick as Paul McLean did.
No, not at all. I mean, my God, the way.
What'd you call it the other night? A no-hitter?
It's a no-hitter. Yeah. It's not baseball either. It's hockey.
Right. All right. And Elvis Merzlikins went to Cleveland. He gets his first North American win. I feel like, and I know you're upset. Everybody was upset the other night, but it just seems like sometimes he's trying to do too much. The last play of the game, and to me it wasn't the last play of the game there were other problems before that. Yes. But that last play of the game for him in Winnipeg was kind of trying to force the issue, show that he belongs, show that he can do something. How happy are you that he went down to Charlotte and he got a win for Cleveland?
I'm thrilled for him. We had a meeting prior to that. It was the day after Winnipeg that I spoke with him. The thing with Elvis, and I haven't really spoke on it much, the thing with him, he cares. He has a charisma about him. He's a little bit flamboyant. He played over in the league, was a star over there. What he has to understand now, and this has been a great process the past few days with him, and really eating it after really costing us. He cost us there. And then going through the process, meetings with me, now back to the minors to play another game. The thing he has to understand is he does not have to be front and center all the time. And he had struggles throughout that game. And like I told him, I said, all you need to do with 2 minutes left is just make any save that comes at you and let the other guys win the game. Let the other players win the game. Just give us the opportunity to win the game. Don't try to put yourself front and center and try to make a big play. And that is a little bit of his personality. But he's been humbled a little bit here now, and I think it's good for him to be humbled because he needs to allow the game to come to him and not be the show. He needs to be in the weeds and just be a solid goaltender. And then, as he gets his feet wet in the National Hockey League, then maybe he can show some of that personality. I don't want him to lose his swagger, but it can't show up every night trying to do something crazy in where, here I am, it's Elvis. The best way is not to be talked about, and then at the end of the night, you have a 2-1 win. You know, that's the way it's going to have to be. But it's still a process for him, and I think this has been a good couple of days for him.
Yeah, that's tough. People don't understand. I mean, he was like walking.
A star.
He could do whatever he wanted to in Switzerland.
Yes, and you know what it is? Bottom line is, this is the best league in the National Hockey. The National Hockey League is the best league in hockey. Respect it. And that's where I think he's had a little bit of struggle thinking he's going to step right in here and be the guy who was over there. I don't even know what league he played in, quite honestly. But this is the best league. Respect this. Humble yourself and go through the process. Live in the process because we think he can be a really good goaltender.
Right. And the fourth-line guys in this league are probably better than the top-line guys in that league, and that's just a fact of life.
It is, and it's certainly not being negative toward there. This is the best league. Come in here with a little bit of humility and just allow yourself to understand what it is and take each day at a time until you get yourself going.
And Torts, on that note, I thank you very much. Wish you a happy Thanksgiving, even though it's a work day, to you and your family. And talk to you again next week.
Okay, Bobby. Best to your family.
Thank you very much. That's John Tortorella, and this has been Timeout with Torts. I'm Bob McElligott.